All right, now a call to remove Canada's top cop straight from the Senate following the RCMP Commissioner Brenda Lucki's statement on systemic racism in the police force, as I just spoke about with Jagmeet Singh. First, she denies there is systemic racism in the force in multiple interviews. Then she backtracked and she admitted, yeah, there is. That has caused Senator Lillian Dyck to call for Lucki's immediate resignation, immediate removal. Would taking Lucki off the job do more harm than good, or is it the best route towards law enforcement? Let's find out. Joining us now is Senator Lillian Dyck. Good to have you on the program, Senator. Why are you calling for Commissioner Lucki's removal?
Well, you know, it seems to me that if she doesn't really understand what systemic racism is after having been in the job for 2 years, that is not acceptable. And how can we trust her then to move forward to make any significant changes in the RCMP?
I spoke to Perry Bellegarde today, the National Chief of the Assembly of First Nations, and he said she's changed her mind and we should let her, quote, learn that it's a good thing. Do you believe that she honestly changed her mind, or was she pushed to do it for politically expedient reasons?
Well, you know, it seems to me very odd that she didn't explain why she changed her mind. It's a complete reversal. You could get whiplash from the, you know, that complete reversal of opinion. And after being in the job for 2 years, she should have known what systemic racism when she got the job, not 2 years later. I just see it as totally unacceptable.
Okay, so now she says there is systemic racism. Do you trust her to make the changes that you would like to see, that many are calling for, to root out systemic racism within the force?
No, I don't, because she's had 2 years. She should have known what systemic racism is. She should have already assigned someone to look at it. She should have made some progress. We shouldn't be in this position where, you know, it's just incredible to me that the top RCMP commissioner says there are no racists in the RCMP, that she doesn't really know what systemic racism is, and overnight suddenly she does know. It does look to me as though someone has spoken to her and maybe said to her, you know, you should have said, and that's what she did say, I should have said. So why the sudden change?
You know, Senator, one of the things that people have talked about, Senator, is that video, that really horrific video to watch, Chief Adam and the use of force takedown, and he's been on this program. And yeah, what's interesting is that the RCMP first saw that dash cam. They saw it, they looked at it, and they said, we're fine with it. It was a justifiable use of force on Chief Adam. They had no problem with it. Now there's an independent investigation after the rest of the public has seen it, and Chief Adam came forward. What does that tell you? That when the RCMP internally saw that, they thought that was fine.
Well, that tells me that's a system of an example of systemic racism, where the level of violence that they will accept by their policies and procedures is higher than I think that most Canadians would like to see. So that is an example of what needs to change.
Senator, what role would you like to see the federal government take when it comes to law enforcement reform?
Well, they're talking about legislation. That takes too long, and that's really not going to change it. I don't know I think the federal government, probably Minister Blair, is the one who is responsible, who that Commissioner Lucki reports to. I think she needs to be replaced, to find someone who has the knowledge, the leadership, the will, and the bold vision to move forward to change the way the police operate. And in particular, I'm especially annoyed because she was put in that position at a time when the National Inquiry on Missing and Murdered Indigenous Women was completing their work, and she pledged to do better. And yet here we are 2 years later, where Chantel Moore has been killed by a police officer in New Brunswick. And although systemic racism or racism may not have been played a part in that, we are still having Indigenous women and girls going missing and murdered across Canada. And what has she done? What has she done?
Do you trust, some have criticized Bill Blair, the former police chief in Toronto, now the public safety minister, as you know. Do you trust him, a guy whose track record, as some critics have pointed out, had included carding on the Toronto police force? Do you trust him to make the reforms?
Well, he's not in charge of it. He's in charge of as a minister I don't know what to say in this particular case because it's actually Commissioner Lucki who's the one that should be instituting the changes. So on that, I don't really have a strong opinion.
All right, I appreciate your time, and we're going to continue this discussion on our press gallery. Senator, always good to have you on the program. Thank you so much.
Thank you. You're welcome. Bye.